Hi, I'm Christopher Hawkins with St. Croix Valley Truck Driving School. Thank you for choosing us for your CDL needs.
Next, we're going to move on to our coupling system. First things we're going to talk about is my emergency and service lines are securely mounted to the trailer with the glad hands. The glad hands are not bent, broken, or cracked. It's not missing any hardware. And it's connected to the truck and it's not bent, broken, or cracked. The emergency and service lines themselves, no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. I hear no audible leak. The electrical line is securely mounted to the trailer and to the truck with a safety latch. The safety latch functions properly. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. It's not missing any hardware. The electrical line itself has no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. Has no charred line, which would indicate a frayed wire in the jacket. It has proper clearance from the catwalk for my tight turns. The apron is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked, and there's no daylight between my apron and my fifth wheel. My fifth wheel is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. It's properly greased. The release handle is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. It's in the locked position. The pivot pin is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. There's no missing hardware. My king pin is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. My locking jaw is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. It's in the locked position. The platform mount is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. And the platform mounting bolts are all securely mounted. None of them are missing. They don't show signs of being loose, which would be a silver or shiny rust trail. Next, we're going to start on front of trailer all the way to the rear of trailer and the one driver's side axle. First things first, we got our two clearance lights on the front of our trailer. They're of the proper color, orange or amber. They're securely mounted. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. And the header boards on the front of my trailer are securely mounted. It's not missing any hardware. There's no holes in the front of it. We're going to move on to my DOT approved reflective tape down 50% down the side of my trailer. Next, we got our landing gear. My landing gear is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. And it's proper clearance from the ground, and the handle is in the stowaway position. Next, we're going to talk about my floor. My floor has no holes in it. It's secure. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. And the floor joists are securely mounted. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. And I have a clearance light hiding up here as well. It's of the proper color, orange or amber. It's securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. All the doors on the side of my trailer are securely mounted in the locked position, and there are no holes on my door. All the door seals are securely mounted. There's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. My clearance light and turn signal is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. It's of the proper color, orange or amber. Next, we're going to move on here to my ABS light. My ABS light is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. It's of the proper color, orange or amber. I got my clearance light here. It's securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. It's of the proper color, red, because it's in the rear. Next, we got all the lights on the back of my truck are all securely mounted. They're of the proper color, red for the rear. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. They're properly mounted. I should have 100% DOT approved reflective tape on the back of my truck. My door on the back of my trailer is securely mounted. There's no holes in my door. It's in the locked position. My mud flap has no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. It's securely mounted, has proper clearance from the ground. We're gonna move over here, talk about our suspensions and brakes. I got my slack adjuster and push rod. It's securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. The push rod itself is straight in, and with the brakes on, should be at a 90-degree angle. And with the brakes off, I should have no more than 1 inch of play. Next, I got my brake lines. They're secure on all ends. There's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. I hear no audible leaks. My brake chamber itself is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. I hear no audible leaks. I got my front and rear spring hanger. It's securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. It's not missing any hardware. Again, I got multiple leaf springs, so I want to make sure my leaf springs are properly aligned and not crossed. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. I got U-bolts. My U-bolts are securely mounted. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. They don't show signs of being loose, which would be a wobbly sensation. I got my brake shoes. My brake shoes are securely mounted. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. They're not worn dangerously thin, which would be no less than a 1/4 inch. They don't show signs of overheating, which would be a glossy color. My brake drums are securely mounted. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. They don't show signs of overheating, which would be a bluish color. My inside rim is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. And I see no illegal welds. And I know it might have been a little bit difficult of a view for our spring hangers. So just for a better view for our rear spring hanger, we got our front located here and our rear located here. Now that I have those pointed out with a better angle, we're going to go ahead and move to all my tire faces. All my tire faces are securely seated to the rim. There's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and I hear no audible leaks. The top of both my tires are worn evenly. There's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. It should be no less than 2 30 seconds of tread depth left. The gap between my tire, I should have proper gap. Tires should not be touching, and I should have no excess debris like dirt, mud, or rocks. My bud rims are securely mounted. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. There's no daylight between my bud rims, and I see no illegal welds. My outside rim is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. I see no illegal welds. All my lug nuts are present. None of them are missing. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. They don't show signs of being loose, which would be a silver or rust trail. We got 2 valve stems located, one here and one here. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. I hear no audible leaks, and I check my tire inflation with a tire gauge. My hub seal is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. Has no missing hardware and shows no signs of leaks. Next, we're going to move into our final step of our pre-trip, our in-cab. We're going to start with our seat belt. My seat belt is securely mounted. There's no rip, tears, or frays. It latches in and latches out properly. I have my fire extinguisher. It is securely mounted. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. It's proper for the load. It's fully charged in the green, and its safety pin is present. My safety triangles are located here. I have 3. They're of the proper color. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. My city horn, it functions properly. My highway horn, it functions properly. And if I had any spare fuses, I'd keep them up here. All my mirrors are securely mounted. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. There's no obstructions to make it hard for me to see, and they're adjusted to me. My windshield is securely mounted. There's no illegal stickers, no cracks or obstructions to make it hard for me to see. Next, I'm going to turn my key over to the right, 1 click, and I'm going to be looking for my ABS light. My ABS light is on and off. Next, we're going to check my windshield wipers and fluid. It's the white button located on the lever on the left. You push it in, water disperses properly. My windshield wipers themselves are securely mounted. They're not bent, broken, or cracked. The rubber has no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and there's no metal showing through. Next, we'll move over to my left turn signal. Works properly. Right turn signal works properly. My 4-way flashers work properly. My high beam works properly, and my low beam works properly. Next, we're going to do heat and defrost. My heat and defrost, you'll be looking for the gentleman with an arrow to his feet and the little squiggly lines up to your dash. You're going to put it on heat, put it on high, give it a few seconds to kick on. My defrost is working properly, and my heat is working properly. Next, we're going to move on to what we call a safe start. So to safe start your vehicle, you're going to hold your foot on the brake. Make sure your truck's in neutral. Make sure your brakes are pulled out. Leave your foot on the brake, and now we can safely start our vehicle. Now I'm going to move on to my 5 gauges. My oil gauge, water gauge, volt gauge, primary and secondary air gauge. My oil gauge is working properly, moving to operating levels with no warning lights. My water temp gauge is working properly, moving to operating levels with no warning lights. My volt gauge should be between 12 and 14 volts and working with no warning lights. My primary and secondary air gauge are moving to operating levels with no warning lights. After our gauges, we're going to check our brakes. The first brake we're going to check is our parking brake. To do so, we're going to push in our trailer brake, put it in drive, and just release the brakes, and we should not move anywhere. It works properly. Next, we're going to pull back out our trailer brakes, push in our parking brakes, and again, I'm just going to release my foot, and it works properly. Next, I'm going to push in my trailer brakes. I'm going to move forward at 5 miles an hour with my hand loosely on the steering wheel. I shouldn't turn left or to the right, and this is to test my service brake. It works properly. Now next, this is the most important part of our pre-trip inspection. We're going to put the truck in neutral, make sure my brakes are pushed in, leave my foot on the brake so I don't roll nowhere, cut the truck off, back on to your ABS light. We're going to hold our foot on the brake, and you're going to tell the examiner that we should not lose no more than 4 psi in 1 minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My minute is up. Next, I would want to check for my warning brakes, lights and alarm to come on between 60 and 80 psi. And I'm going to do so by fanning my brakes. My warning lights and alarm came on between 60 and 80 psi. Next, by just looking at my emergency knobs, I am going to pump my brakes, and they should pop out between 20 and 40 psi. There's one. We're going to keep popping out till we see that second one. And there's the second one, between 20 and 40 psi. And that would include our vehicle inspection. Thanks again for choosing St. Croix Valley Truck Driving School. Have a good day.